Hi Agility Gang. So today we're going to look at a couple of new things for you from working from home. And what I've built up behind me is a makeshift jump with some bits and pieces that I found at home. So we're going to start off working with these 2 chairs and a broomstick. So you guys can source your own bits and pieces that might work well as a jump. We want to be able to start the jump off at a lower size and then gradually increase the size of the jump. So as you can see here, this chair and broomstick, at the minute I have broomstick on the floor. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the dog to it first of all with the broomstick on the floor, then I'm going to raise the height of the broomstick. Now what am I going to be working on here with my dog? I'm going to be working on overs, so we're going to work on sending the dog over the jump, working on drive, working on your position, where you are when you send the dog, and 2, the dog's confidence in taking the new piece of kit. So I'm going to start the session now, and all we need is a makeshift jump of some sort. It could just be a broomstick to start off with on the floor. You can raise it up on 2 bricks or something like that, or some stones that you might find in your garden, or like me, you might source a couple of chairs. We also want a little target, so we want a little disc. Now I'm going to use a frisbee. Okay, so I know there's a frisbee on the floor up the back of the garden, so I'm going to use a frisbee as my target where I'm going to place my food. I'm going to start my dog from the opposite side of the jump. I'm going to place the target down the other side of the jump to the dog, and I'm going to place a piece of food on that target, and I'm going to release the dog saying over. Okay, and once the dog's got that over cue in its head, now what the dog's understanding is over means take the jump and go in a straight line. Okay, we want to get the dog to be able to differentiate between overs, lefts and rights. Okay, that's going to help you build speed in your courses. So we're going to load the target with food. We're going to send the dog over the jump, and then we're going to restart the dog again. And we're going to gradually increase the height of the jump, as well as changing around our position as to where we start when we send the dog. Let's go, overs. Okay, so you can see us building the over position there and building the drive and the dog going over the jump. I also changed up my position as to where I was stood with the dog, and as I felt confident, I raised the height of the jump. Now we're going to have a little look at left and right. So very, very similar, except I'm going to lower my pole back down to the middle one because I think she's more comfortable at that height than she is the higher one at the minute. I'm also going to build on her left and right. So we're going to move the target to the left. So as she goes over the jump, she's going to bend to the left looking for the target where she's going to find her food. I'm going to pair the word left rather than over with this cue and with this behaviour, and then right with the opposite direction. So when I'm taking my course, I can give my dog the individual cue of left or right as opposed to over to add speed into my dog's course or my dog's run. So So there you go, there's our jumping, and we're going to work on our overs, our lefts and our rights. But I also want you to think about the position of where you're sending the dog. So sometimes I was to the right of my dog, sometimes I was to the left of my dog, on all three alternate jumps. I also changed up my position, so I sat her and I stepped out to the side. So in an agility course, you're normally going to be further away from your dog, whether that's behind the dog or to the side of the dog. Today I did the side of the dog. I tried a couple from behind the dog, but she wasn't as good at that one, so I've got a little bit of work to do there on that one. So let's have a little look at your homemade jumps and your overs, lefts and rights. Okay, so agility guys, the next exercise we're going to give you to practice at home is what we're going to call the chair tunnel. Okay, so just like the tunnel, we're going to look to send the dog through a line of chairs. Now, if you've got a big dog, we can set up the chairs like I have out behind me. If you've got a smaller dog, we can ask the dog to go underneath the chairs if the chairs are suitable. All of us are going to have chairs in our home of some sort, so whether we put 4 in a row and we ask the dog to go down the middle, or whether we put 2 and 2 and we ask the dog to go down the middle, or we put 4 in a line and ask the dog to go underneath. So I'm going to have a go with 2 dogs, show you 2 different ways. We're going to start off luring the dog through the object, and we're gradually going to add to the object. So with the open chairs, I could start them wider and then gradually make them narrower, or I could add in extra chairs if I had extra chairs. So then the second one, you're going to see us start luring the dog underneath the chairs, and I'll probably start with 1 chair, and then I'll gradually add in 2, 3 and 4 chairs. Let's have a go with the chair tunnel. You can see me luring the dog through the gaps of the chairs, and I'm going to gradually make that gap tighter and tighter as the dog gets more confident. But I'm also now going to introduce our target. So I'm going to place our target at this end, and I'm going to send the dog through from the other end. And I'm going to work again on my start positions as to where I send the dog from. So just like you can on a jump, just like we were on the previous exercise, we can start the dog from the left, from the right, from behind, from in front. And also from our middle position. So tons of different ways we can start the dog, and it's about building drive through that tunnel. No matter where you're stood, the dog can get through to the other end. So the target will help drive the dog on to the far end whilst you stay further back, building that distance into the behaviour. So enjoy. So guys, you saw me using the target there just to build that direction onto the dog, and then we can again play around with the direction as to where the dog comes when he comes out of the tunnel. So he comes out of the tunnel, goes left, comes out of the tunnel, goes right, comes out of the tunnel, goes straight on. But for now, I just want you building that confidence in what you can find to use your tunnel. So now I'm going to build a different type of tunnel, and it's for a smaller dog. So the smaller dog tunnel, I'm going to take the dog underneath the chair, and I'm going to build in extra chairs. Okay, so I've got one chair behind me. I'm going to start off luring the dog through. Then I'm going to add to the row of chairs, making that tunnel slightly longer and slightly longer. The good thing about chairs is I can I can stick my hand in between, and I can reward in between the chairs, getting her further up. And then once the dog's confident in the distance of the chairs, I'm going to use my target to start building my direction into the behaviour and my drive into the behaviour. Let's have a go. Okay, so agility gang, that was our chair tunnel. So have a little play around with whichever method you prefer, whether you've got and what sort of chairs you've got to your disposal. So if you've got your dining room chairs with your normal 4 posts, they're going to be great for sending the dog underneath. Or you can use any type of chair to put in a line and work on that line getting narrower and narrower. Obviously, only take it as narrow as your dog can cope with to start off with. And I don't want to see any dogs getting stuck in chairs. But have fun with it. And then once the dog's confident with your particular chosen tunnel that you're going to use, we can then start working on the start position. So where you send the dog from as the dog goes through using your target, and also the drive of the dog going in on and taking that tunnel more confidently on its own rather than you running up the side of it. So we're looking to put distance in the behaviour as well as drive, and working on those positions in which we can send the dog to the behaviour from. So have fun. Let me see your chair tunnels in the group. So you've all been practicing sending the dog to the mat and building that anticipation into the dog's head that when he gets to the mat, you're going to go in and reward him, or you're going to chuck another treat at its mat. So now we're going to look to add on that behaviour. And one thing that's going to come in here is the quality of the cues. So the better our cues are for our sit and our down, the easier it is going to be for the dog to pick it up. Now, if we have to use food to lure the behaviour to start off, that's absolutely fine. But we're going to go right in and we're going to get the behaviour right in front of the dog without the dog coming off the mat. We're then going to look to increase the distance that we can get our sit or our down from. And it's important for us not to expect too much too soon, because if we ask for too much distance on our behaviour, so we are too far away from the dog when the dog's on its mat and we ask for the sit or we ask for the down, the dog's going to come to us, okay? And then the dog's going to come to us and do the behaviour closer to us. And that's not the aim of the exercise. The aim of the exercise is to get more distance on your down or your sit cue whilst your dog is on its mat. Let's have a look. Okay, so now we're going to look at progressing this behaviour slightly. And the dog should be driving to the mat and finding its food. Now we're going to look to send the dog to the mat without the food. So the dog's picking up on the cue now of go or go to the mat, whichever you're using. And you're going to send the dog to the mat. When the dog gets there, he's going to look for his treat and it's not going to be there. Then hopefully they're going to look up at us, and when they look up at us, we're going to ask them for their behaviour. If we're too far away from the dog's going to come to us. Remember, reduce your distance in order for the dog to do the behaviour by the target, and then gradually increase your distance from your target. Today I'm using a mat, and I'm going to be extending this exercise with Cookie. So that was our sending to the mat and adding on our behaviour. So every time you increase your distance, or you change to a new target, or you work in a new location, I would add that piece of food back to the target, just to build that drive of the dog going. Then we're going to look to fade that treat out, looking to get our behaviour. Once we've sent the dog to the mat, so the dog goes out, looks for the treat. The treat's not there this time. When he looks at you, we ask for the behaviour. We go in and reinforce the dog in the position. Now, if the dog doesn't do the behaviour, or he's coming off his mat, you need to reduce your distance. So go closer to the mat, even if it's just one pace away from the mat, and get your behaviour on the mat, and from the distance you are successful. Then gradually increase that distance. Let's see you practice. So agility gang, that's the end of week 2, and I hope you guys are all getting on at home. I know you're missing classes, so are we, but we can still perfect some of these behaviours from home, and it's going to benefit us when we get back to that agility course. You've got 3 behaviours to work over. First one being your jumps, and we got our 3 directions, so our over, our left and our right. I want you thinking about those start positions, and where you're standing when you start the dog. So start putting in your stay at the start, towards the end, and move your position as to where you release the dog from. Secondly, it was our chair tunnel. So it's a nice fun exercise. I had great fun playing around with that with my 2 dogs. So you've got 2 different methods to work through. And then you have your sending the dog to the mat. So being able to send your dog to a place and get a stationary behaviour is going to be beneficial in any type of training, as well as our agility. So having that control to our dog on directional and distance behaviour. So guys, looking forward to seeing you again on week 3. Get practicing week 1 and week 2's exercises, get up to speed if you've missed out, and I will see you soon.